2020. 2020 is the year that the world changed. It's the year that I realized I have so much to be grateful for, and I realized how much that I had. 2020 is the year that the United States went through an economic recession, and we saw COVID cases spike as we saw hundreds of thousands of people die in just 1 year alone. 2020 hurt a lot of people, and everyone has their own horror story from how 2020 affected them, whether it be from a loved one dying or someone losing their job and not being able to pay their bills. 2020 hurt everyone, from mental health to everything in between. And 2020 saw one of the biggest polarizations in the United States between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. We saw how divided our country was and how close this election was to being called. This 2020 election was extremely important in the presidential race, but it was also important in the Senate. Now, a lot of these smaller elections, even for the Senate and the House of Representatives, were overlooked by the fact that there was a presidential race going on. And a lot of the time, candidates who are running just 2 years prior, like it would be for 2022, also start talking about their policies. But people couldn't focus on 2022 until 2020 was settled. This leads me to my question today of should Democrats prioritize the Florida governorship or the Ohio Senate race in 2022? To properly answer this question, I'll be splitting my speech up into 3 main points. My first main point will be talking about the Florida governorship. My second main point will be talking about the Ohio Senate race. And my third and final main point will be talking about what the correct path for the Democrats to go in. Moving on to my first main point of the Florida governorship. The Florida governorship is something that only affects the people in the state of Florida. Now, there still are a lot of people in the state of Florida, and that is something that is extremely important to them, that this governorship is changed for Democrats or for Republicans, that this governorship stays the same. But it only affects one state. Now, it is also 2 years away. So it is something that a lot of people aren't thinking about. Now, people who are running for governor need to be thinking about it because they need to be working on campaign strategies. But a lot of people after the 2020 election just want the dust to settle, and they don't want to have to think about politics. And according to The Guardian on February 6, 2020, it is unlikely that the Democrats will be able to oust the current Republican governor because he has only been serving for 1 term. The current Republican governor has only been serving for 1 term, and because he has only been serving for 1 term, it is unlikely that he will be ousted. And not to mention the fact that for the past 6 elections in Florida, they have consistently chosen, for the past 24 years, because each governor term is 4 years, they have consistently chosen a Republican governor. Because they have consistently shown the path that they are going to take and the path that is best for them, it is unlikely that the Democrats will be able to change it now. Now, some Democrats have hope because they only lost Florida by 300,000 votes. Now, that might seem like a lot, but it is a very slim margin based on other states. But because this governor has only been there for 1 term, and it has been so consistent across Florida, it is unlikely that the Democrats will be able to make any real change there. This leads me to my second main point of the Ohio Senate race. The Ohio Senate race is something that doesn't only affect Ohio. It affects people all across the country because these are senators that are going to be voting for the United States of America in the Senate, and it will have an impact on every single person. Now, we saw in the 2020 election just how important the Senate seats were and the Georgia runoffs. And the Georgia runoffs, we saw the majority in the Senate go from a 50-50 split, where Vice President Kamala Harris now splits the tie. So the Democrats have a majority. What this election showed a lot of people was how important it is and how important the Senate races are. And that's exactly what can be seen in the Ohio Senate race. And according to ABC News, on February 21st, 2020, the current senator in Ohio is going to join 3 other Republicans who have decided to retire this year in key battleground states. What this means is that the Senate races are especially important for the Republicans because they have had 3 people retire and who are going to be key in key states like North Carolina and Pennsylvania and even Ohio. And because of what this shows, it shows that the Republicans are going to have to worry about those seats. But what it also shows is that the Democrats need to focus on these Senate seats because they actually have a chance, because as we can see in Pennsylvania, they were actually able to flip the state. And with the Ohio Senate race, they can see that they need to ensure that their majority is kept. And if they can add more seats to that, that will be extremely beneficial. And according to Ballotopedia, on January 23rd, 2020, there are 34 seats up for re-election in 2022, and 20 of them are members of the GOP. What this shows is that 20 of them are members of the GOP, and the importance of that is extreme because the Republicans are going to have to fight for them even further, and especially with the senator in Ohio retiring, it allows for both candidates to have a more even playing field because they don't have a retiree in office. Which leads me to my third and final main point of which should the Democrats prioritize, the Florida governorship or the Ohio Senate race in 2022, excuse me. As we can see throughout this speech, the Ohio Senate race is the one that is going to be the most important, and the Democrats need to focus their efforts there. The Democrats need to focus their efforts there because it is an open seat that they could potentially widen their majority in the Senate, and it is something that affects every single person. Now, the Democrats did lose Ohio in the 2020 election by 450,000 votes. Now, this is a lot of votes, and we can see that the margin in Florida was even smaller, but that's exactly why the Democrats need to prioritize it. They need to get as many people out there as they possibly can so that they can ensure that they have an actual chance at getting this Ohio Senate seat. And according to Politico, on January 21st, 2021, the Democrats need to change their policy, and they need to change the way that they go about it in Ohio because, as we can see in the past, it hasn't worked. So the Democrats need to put their efforts there because the Senate will affect everyone in the United States, and it will affect the majority they have, while Florida will only have a small impact. Now, I know it's easy to say that the Senate is important, but the Democrats already have a majority. But that's why it's especially important, because the Democrats have to fight for their chance to keep their majority, and that can only be done in the Ohio Senate race.